The conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace is getting a lot of attention these days. So what does it really mean?
Nancy Werteen takes a look in today's workplace lessons.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI as it's called, is basically about making sure that all employees are respected and treated equally. But there's a lot more to it than that. I'm joined now by William Brown, and he is an expert in DEI. He is co-founder of the staffing agency FIA NYC. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Nancy.
So give us, if you will, a little bit more about what DEI really means.
Okay, it's a very interesting flow, if you look at it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. So let's take the D. Diversity, meaning that you have different cultures, different mixes, more than one set of anything. And I'm saying anything for a reason. Equity, that everybody has a fair and equal opportunity if doing a certain amount of work or applying to certain principles to have the right amount or the equal amount of growth to anyone else. Inclusion. I want to feel like I'm a part of what's being done, and I want to feel like I'm a part of how it's being done. So when you talk about it, it really comes down to this. This is the way I look at it. People talk about culture fits in jobs. I look at it more like an ecosystem. An ecosystem is, whether it be plants, animals, if I bring something that's from a tropical environment to a cold environment, it won't survive. So that means you have to set up your atmosphere, not just hire people and put them there, but you have to set up the atmosphere so that the people that you bring in can survive in your ecosystem.
Yeah, and I love the inclusion part. You know, you're right. When I was thinking of diversity, equity, inclusion didn't resonate as much with me until you just said it.
Right.
Being included.
Correct.
That is huge. And so when you talk about like a workplace culture, getting things done, being successful, why is this so important for that?
Here's the thing I find. When I talk to a lot of companies, and a lot of them not meaning harm, they understand the diversity side. They don't understand the inclusion side. So I'm being diversified because I'm following the rules and I brought you in. But if a person doesn't feel included, meaning they're not a part of the process or the growth or the direction of the company, they're not going to last. They're not going to stay. And this is what we run into. I don't consider myself an expert in teaching people how to be diversified. But I'm coming from a staffing side. So we can get you the employees, and we're good at that, but can you keep them? So people want to feel included. I've been invited to many places. I knew that I was invited, but I knew I didn't belong there. I was a guest. And if they come into your workplace and they feel like they're guests, but they don't belong, they're not going to stay. So the inclusion part is very big.
Especially right now, we hear so much about people leaving the workforces in droves. So what would your advice be to somebody looking for a job? What do they look for if they want to find a place that has a strong culture that's surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion?
The biggest thing that I see when people come to us, it's two-part. It's not just training the company. And I know a lot of people go out and they speak at companies, and this is what you need to do if you want to be a diverse company. But you also have to work with the employees and say, here's how you now begin to fit in the environment. You're not going to come in and just flip their environment upside down either. So it's two sides, and we work strong from the employee side as well as the management side to help the employee get ready for the culture that they're going into. Yeah. So it has a very strong impact when both sides are involved in the change process.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that more next week.
Yes.
Thanks so much for being with us, Bill.
I appreciate it.
And we're going to talk next week also about why it's so important right now to be talking about DEI. How does a company create a culture that is welcoming to all employees? I'm joined now by William Brown, who is co-founder of the staffing agency FIA NYC. And you have started a new initiative to try to help companies to focus on this subject of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So how do they create a culture where diverse people feel comfortable?
And I don't know if I could take credit for creating, but I'm just observing, you know, what's being done. And again, I've started out trying to be a DEI speaker, and I realized the market is flooded with people coming to a company, telling the company what they need to do better and how they need to treat people better, but they still don't have what they need instinctually to do what is necessary. People are going to fall back to what they know to do. So our initiative has been, again, focusing from the employment side more so than the actually speaking side. And then when companies come to us, we offer them the opportunity, because as a staffing agency, we know where the DEI experts are. We know who they are. So instead of me going to speak, I say, well, I see what you need, and I know the right person that we can get for you. And we work then from the employee side to help them be ready for the job. Bringing those two elements together makes a lot stronger. And I do want to throw this in. I'd like to go into each company and assess, because some companies are really trying. They really mean well. They just don't have the tools. So it's our hope that we can come in, train these companies, get them ready for the diversity staff that they're looking for.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. So who do you target? Are you going toward management? Like, does it start from the top and trickle down?
It should, but at this point it does not. You know, the way companies are structured, they're used to that. So a lot of people have come to us and said, we want to be diversified, but one, we don't know how to keep the employees. Two, we don't know how to do this. Can you help us with that? And everybody has to be assessed, because every company is different. There's no cookie cutter technique to this. There's not one speech that fits every company. So you really have to fine tune. And I think that's what makes our approach different. We'll sit down with the company and see what have you covered so far. And then we can figure out from there where you need to go.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're right. There are a lot of people talking about DEI right now. Why is this such an important subject and topic to be talking about in the workplace?
It always has been. It's just been like overlooked for so long, because listen, people like things the way they are. Don't come in and mess up my world. And then people started to treat it like, well, you're asking for reparations. And no, we're asking for fairness, equity. You know, equity, that's the E. And the inclusion. A lot of companies are comfortable with the D now. They're real fine with saying we need to get more people of more cultures and more races, but we don't want to include you in our process. We just want you to fill the gaps. It's important that people come in and know they have a home. And one of the biggest problems I find is you find a company that may hire 1 or 2 people, maybe 4 people. And then they'll say, now I want you to be the head of diversity. The person didn't come there for that. They want to just have their job and be treated fair. That don't throw me out in front and tell me to be Jackie Robinson. I didn't come here for that. Right. So you know, all of these things have to be worked through, and that's the process.
Well, and I think that's a great way to sum it up. You want people to feel like they're home.
Yes.
That's a great way to sum it up.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your advice and expertise.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week with another issue of Workplace Lessons. I'm Nancy Werteen.